Today we're going to put two great wet dry vacuums in a head-to-head challenge to see which one does a better job at cleaning your home. We have the uwant D100 and the Tineco Floor 1 S5. So without further ado, let's put them to the test. So to start things off, both wet dry vacuums do a great job at cleaning up spills, messes, dirt, debris, whatever you throw at it, whether it's liquid or solid. But there are a few things where one vacuum clearly takes the lead. And what are those things? Well, I guess we're about to find out. So we'll start off first with the design. Now, as far as the design goes, as a wet dry vacuum, they pretty much look mostly the same. They have a handle, they have a mop head, you push it around, and you clean the floor. But still, there are quite a few differences. And one of those differences is the docking station that also functions as the cleaning station. Because with the uwant D100, you can actually simply push the wet dry vacuum into the docking station, put up the stem, and it starts charging just like that. Now with the Tineco S5, you have to actually manually pick it up and turn it around actually, and then drop it into place, and then it'll start charging. Now it's not a huge deal, but pushing it into the docking station is a lot easier, and personally I feel like it's a lot better. Because if you've ever used a wet dry vacuum before, you know sometimes if you pick up the wet dry vacuum, some liquid will drip out and get on the floor that you just cleaned, and that's not good. So it's a lot better to be able to just simply push it back to the station so all the liquid stays retained inside. Now the next thing we have is the handle design, which at first I was like, what do you mean there's a floating handle on the D100? Why would I need that? It doesn't make sense. I've been using wet dry vacuums with a regular handle just fine. And let me tell you, once I actually used the floating handle on the uwant D100, it actually changed everything. It feels so much more comfortable using it for long periods of time because it actually rotates with your wrist, so that way no matter how you are, you're always in a great ergonomic position, so you're not getting a lot of wrist strain. Now on the other hand, using the Tineco, it's a fixed handle that's always in the same spot. This is one of those things that I never thought was an actual issue until I actually used the solution to that issue, and I'm not going back. The 180-degree lay flat design. The uwant D100 goes completely flat at 180 degrees in a straight line, so you can easily clean under things like furniture with ease. Now as far as the Tineco, it doesn't go completely flat, so it is really hard and virtually impossible to get under tight spaces, such as a couch. And let me tell you, having a 180-degree lay flat design changes everything because you can clean virtually anywhere, and once you can do that, you definitely don't want to go back to a unit that doesn't have a 180-degree lay flat design. Now on to cleaning functionality of both wet dry vacuums. They both do a great job at cleaning up spills and messes, whether they're liquid or solid. I tried things like cereal and milk, and as you can see, they both sucked up everything rather nicely. I made a lineup of a bunch of different things like ketchup, mustard, salsa, rice, as well as some whipped cream to put the cherry on top, although I didn't have a cherry. And as you can see, they both did a great job at cleaning up everything, even the pieces of rice, which is great because wet and dry together, and it picked everything up. And to push it even further, I took an egg, smashed it on the ground, and tried to vacuum it up with both units. And as you can see, they both did a great job at vacuuming up the inside of the egg. Now, as far as the big chunks of shells, both units did have a bit of an issue sucking those pieces up because they are rather large, and you probably would just pick that up with your hand to be honest. But I was putting this to a stress test, and I wanted to see if it could actually suck it up. And after going over it a few times, I was able to get it sucked up on both units, so it is possible, but obviously, just like when you're vacuuming a floor with a regular vacuum, you want to pick up the big pieces and not try to vacuum it up. But if you really wanted to, you could probably get it done, depending on how big the pieces are. And then finally the hair test, which is a must, especially if you happen to have pets, because if you have a pet, you know somehow there is always hair everywhere, or maybe you just have long hair, or your significant other has long hair, and then you find that hair everywhere. But the point is, it's gonna be in the way, and you don't wanna have to pick that up before you go vacuum and clean the floor. So the good news is, both units do suck up hair rather well and don't get tangled up, and it does a great job with that. So that's a big plus for me because there's always hair everywhere. Although at least I can clean it up easily now, but still, there's hair everywhere. Now, speaking of everywhere, can you clean everywhere, such as the edges along a wall? Now, here's the thing. The uwant D100 has a much wider and thicker mop head, which does a great job at getting as close as possible to the edges of the wall to pick up as much debris and liquid and dirtiness as it could possibly do. And it does a great job, so no issues there. But, on the other hand, the Tineco S5, the design of the mopping head is a bit peculiar to me because on the left side, there's a big chunk of plastic that doesn't allow it to get about an inch worth of debris on the floor, or especially noticeable on the edge of a wall. Now the good news is if you turn it around 180 degrees, the other side of the roller mop actually can get closer to the wall and clean the edges satisfactorily. But it is annoying having to reposition yourself while you're in the groove cleaning to turn around to make sure you get the edge. So the clear winner there is the uwant D100 because it gets all the way over to the edge as close as possible to clean up any mess. Obviously, edge cleaning is a must. Now, as far as cleaning and maintenance, the uwant D100 has an IPX water-resistant motor, as well as a removable docking base that you can easily pick up, take outside to hose off, take it to the sink to clean up, whatever you want, without having to worry about the electronics in the base and unplugging it from the wall and moving the whole thing around. It's a very light piece of plastic that is very simple to move around and get clean. Now, as far as the Tineco S5 goes, it's a solid base station that is just there, and you have to pick up the whole thing and clean it if you want to clean it, or I guess you could just clean it on the floor right there, but that's kind of gonna make a mess. I mean, you could use a wipe and stuff, but it's just a lot better to take the whole base and not have to worry about it and just simply hose it off and be done. Now you're probably wondering, how is the self-cleaning system on these wet dry vacuums? Because obviously if you're cleaning up dirty messes, you do not want that to stay inside of the vacuum because it's gonna start making odors, bacteria is gonna grow. And that's not good. So the good news is they both do offer self-cleaning functions. However, one of them is a bit better than the other. The uwant D100 has a one-touch self-cleaning system with 60 degrees Celsius, which is about 140 degrees Fahrenheit of hot air drying, which will prevent odors and bacteria buildup, all while keeping the noise level at under about 74 decibels, which is rather quiet. It does a great job at spinning around the mopping head, cleaning it up and sucking in all the dirty water to the dirty water tank and keeping everything nice and clean, and then following it up with a hot air dry to dry it up as quickly as possible and kill any bacteria that is on there and prevent odors from building up.
Cleaning complete. Please empty the wastewater tank to prevent bacterial growth. Begin hot air drying, inhibiting bacterial growth.
Now, as far as the Tineco S5, it also does a great job at self-cleaning the mop head, spinning it around really fast and getting it nice and clean. However, it does not have a hot drying feature, so it literally just spins it around really fast to try to dry it and then kind of just sits there moist, because if you think about it, doing that is similar to if you have a standard old-fashioned mop and then you wring out the water. You can wring it out as much as you want, but it's still going to be a little damp, and then when it's sitting there, bacteria can build up, odors can build up, and it's never perfect. So personally, I always do prefer hot air drying because it makes it dry while killing any bacteria that's in there. And then finally, this is one thing that I didn't think would actually make a difference, but throughout my testing, I did start to notice that it actually somehow made a difference, and I'm very impressed with it. The uwant D100 has a deodorizing stick inside the dirty water tank that'll help eliminate bacteria and prevent foul smells, even if you forget to empty the dirty water tank immediately, because after you clean, you're supposed to dump it out and clean it out, but maybe you got busy and you forgot, because life happens. I did notice as I was dumping out the dirty water tank in the sink, it didn't really have a strong odor of dirtiness and grime, but when I switched over to the Tineco S5 and dumped that one out, I got immediately hit in the nose with a bunch of odors, and I was like, wait a minute, I wasn't thinking about this, but I didn't smell anything with the uwant, but right here it's extremely noticeable. And remember, I was cleaning up the exact same messes with each vacuum, so they have the same odors. But with the uwant D100, I didn't even notice. And of course, this is gonna be especially noticeable if you forget to instantly dump it out and it sits there festering, and it's just gonna be really bad. So if you don't have a deodorizing stick in there, you definitely wanna clean that thing out immediately. Otherwise, you're never gonna wanna clean it out again. So all in all, as you can see, both wet dry vacuums are rather nice at cleaning up messes, although the uwant D100 is the clear winner here because of the bigger mop head, the superior edge cleaning, the hot air drying, as well as the 180-degree lay flat design that allows you to easily clean virtually anywhere without putting stress on your wrist because of the floating handle, and the easy push-in docking station for storage, charging, and self-cleaning that is easily removable and detachable so you can manually clean up the base when it happens to get a little bit dirty. So all in all, between these two wet dry vacuums, the uwant D100 and the Tineco Floor 1 S5, the clear winner here in my personal opinion is the uwant D100 because of all those amazing features that bring it up to another level compared to the Tineco. And of course, feel free to let me know your thoughts down below in the comments if all these features that I really like to see in a wet dry vacuum are a must-have for you as well.